And welcome to this webinar, Discover What's New in Aimsun Next 26. I'm Dimitris. I'm a Principal Product Specialist at Aimsun, and I'm very excited to kick off today's session with you. Aimsun Next is a powerful transport modeling and simulation platform used to plan, test, and optimize real-world mobility systems. It helps cities, consultants, and operators make faster, smarter, and more confident traffic decisions. So today you are in great hands. My colleague Tessa will guide you through all the exciting new features in Aimsun Next 26. Saif and I will be supporting you in the Q&A, answering your questions in real time. Be aware the chat is deactivated, so feel free to use the Q&A to raise any questions you have. And make sure to stay with us until the end. We've got a special surprise waiting for you. So with that, I'll step out of the spotlight and hand things over to my colleague, Tessa. Tess, the floor is yours. Let's get started.
Hello, welcome. So we're going to go through all the great new features of Aimsun Next 26. We've got 4 main themes of these features. We've got licensing updates, improvements to your workflow, some improvements to mergers, and some methods for enhanced consistency. First of all, like Dimitri says, please ask any questions in the Q&A as we go along. Don't wait till the end. We're not doing a Q&A at the end. As soon as you have a question in your mind, no matter how simple it is, please just ask in the Q&A and Dimitris and Saif will take a look. So first off, when you open Aimsun Next 26, you will see our new look. You'll get a new welcome screen. In this welcome screen, you can see all of your most recently open projects with a little preview of them. If you do like the old one, you can see in the top right here, we have these lines. You can click that and you'll see the usual file path method. We also have a tab for learning resources. This is where you can find the tutorials, which are a set of guides for simple tasks for our macro, meso, all those kinds of things. We've also got our video tutorials, which are a set of videos on YouTube that were recorded of us technical specialists doing the tutorials for you step by step. We also have technical notes, which are a set of written documents on how to do some simple tasks and our top tips. Finally, there is the user manual where you can find all the guidance of how to do everything and how our simulation software works. We've then got the news tab. In the news tab, you can stay up to date with our newsletter, new features, and the innovation blog. We've also got a link at the top to get a quote for Aimsun Start, which is our new solution, which gives you an Aimsun Next model that is pre-built, ready to calibrate for a base model. I'm not going to be talking about Aimsun Start today, but if you do want more info on that, please just send us a message. All right, first, licensing updates. So we listened. So with Aimsun Next 26, we are going to reintroduce the 2 instances per seat feature. If you haven't been using Aimsun Next previously and you don't know what I'm on about, then please carry on listening. The key benefits of this are that you can run and edit models simultaneously, compare scenarios side by side, and simulate multiple models in parallel. Hopefully all of these will give you a more efficient workflow without additional cost. So let's see it in practice. Here I have 2 models open. I can easily copy in one and then paste in the same location in the other. I can also copy objects between. So here I'm going to copy a control plan. Just drag it from one screen to the other. You can also use it to compare different results. So you can have a view mode in one with a different view mode in the other. You can look at different locations at the same time. These can be quite useful when you're doing your calibration. So that's back. Second, improving your workflow. So we've created the MyAimsun project system, which hopefully will allow you to collaborate and better and validate your models better. With the commenting system, you've got a new geolocated commenting feature that should allow your team members to communicate about areas of the model effectively. What it does is it uses your license from the subscription license to identify who you are. So automatically, when you write a comment, your name will appear, the timestamp will appear. You can then add comments about things like, check the signals here, I haven't done this part, please can you look, and just hopefully create better collaboration, smoother decision making, and most importantly, the traceability of any key decisions. So you're not wondering why certain things were coded in certain ways. As part of that, we've also integrated that into the check and fix. If you haven't used Aimsun Next before, check and fix is a method that identifies in the model the most commonly found errors for the specific type of model that you're building. So it will give certain errors for a microscopic model and others for a macroscopic model. This wasn't being widely used in the past because it might give a lot of simple errors. Things like the speed looks a little bit strange, and many of these errors were okay. So what we can do now is you can mark these warnings as discarded and give a comment. So for example, you might get a warning that says a giveaway is missing on a certain location. And what you can do is you can write a comment and say, actually, in this area, vehicles don't give way. And then people in the future, when they're auditing the model, can go, okay, that was a decision that was made and not something that was missing. Hopefully, when you have got it discarded, they aren't removed forever, so you can always look back, and we'll see that in a minute. All of this will enable fast communication. The comments and the check and fix are all in the cloud, allowing for multiple users to see the latest comments on the model whilst working. So let's have a see about how to do that. So first of all, you have to make a project. To make a project, you need to be the admin for your MyAimsun account. So don't forget that you can have unlimited amounts of admins for your organization. And once you are an admin, you will have this projects tab appear over here. When you have this open, you can then click Add Project. Once you are added as a user to a project, this tab will also appear, but this button will be grayed out. You won't be able to add a project unless you are the admin for the MyAimsun account. So I'm going to click that Add Project and show you what happens. So clicked it, we write in a name for your project. So I'm going to go for Barcelona. And I'm going to do some stadium modeling, I think. So you can put any description of the purpose of your model, whatever you need. It's then created. I can then add people. So I'm going to add a user. And I think I'm going to add Martin. So I just add him in, I send him an email so that he knows that he's got access. Then press save. I can then change his role. So I'm going to change it to admin on the project, and he can now add people to the project as I can. You can also easily delete people from the project. So if I've decided for whatever reason that Martin should no longer be on the project, I can now remove him very easily. So how do we then create comments? So first of all, you need to add your project to a MyAimsun project. So I go to project, properties, and you can then see we have the name of the project here, and then in the drop down here, I have a list of all the projects which I am a member of. Let it run again. And I'll add in a comment. So I can zoom in here. And I'm going to think that the lane assignment here looks a little bit strange. So I'm going to write in this comment that the lane assignment is strange. So you can see that my name comes up with the timestamp. And when I double click, it reloads the message and I can have a look. I can also edit and delete that. We can also prioritize our messages. So we've got our comments in there, and you might be getting loads and loads of different comments. So what you could do is you could use the layer tool over here to easily identify and categorize your comments. So I'm going to press play. So here I've had a message saying there's missing pedestrian crossings. So I'm going to add in the missing pedestrian crossings. And then I obviously need to say it's fixed. So I'm going to write in another comment to say I have fixed it. It's got the date that has happened so people in the future can know that. I then need to create a layer for it being fixed. So I go to new layer up here. I write in a name, so I'm going to call it fixed. And then I need to use style and layer, choose a brush, and I'm going to make it green. I then need to move the comment to that layer. So I'm going to right click, arrange, move to layer, geo comments layers, and fixed. And it'll then become green. You can then easily sort your priorities. You can obviously choose how you wish to categorize this as well. So you might have geo comments that are signals that are red. You might have ones about pedestrian crossings that are green, whatever you want to do. We've then got the check and fix feature. So to check and fix, you right click on your experiment, but first I'm just going to check that it's in a project, which it is. It's in Barcelona. If it's not in a project, this won't happen. So I'm going to right click, check and fix. Then I've got an error in here already. So here the lane assignment isn't very good. Things are being crossed over. But I'm going to write, actually, this is all right. The traffic behavior in this area is a bit chaotic. So I'm going to leave it. And then I will discard this comment. So I'm going to go to the top right and click discard selection. I can then easily look back at it in the future. I'm now going to create a new error. So I've just created a section without any connection. As you'll see, it doesn't pop up straight away. With the new check and fix, you need to click check at the bottom of the window to get it to recheck. The reason that is that you'll see it now says new. We've got a permanence in the check and fix that it can see whether it's got new or old problems. You can then show the discarded, and you'll see that it's also got a green tick next to it because we've fixed this error. Hopefully, this will make the check and fix a lot more usable for you in the future. As you can easily discard comments, you can see whether that they have been fixed, whether you've got new problems, order them by date. You can filter them very, very easily. All right. Next, we've got dynamic skim matrices. So the dynamic skim matrices, we can now automatically generate skim matrices from dynamic simulations, similar to how you can already in the static simulations. Hopefully this will improve the creation of cost-benefit analysis and post-processing of any results. As part of this, you can also aggregate by time, vehicle class, and create outputs for 0 trips. This is if you have a OD pair in a matrix with less than 1 trip, it might not be generated in the model. And usually that would mean that you would not get a cost or function component output for that OD pair. If you click the outputs for 0 trips tick box, it will create a cost for any OD pair that has a trip of less than 1, but doesn't have a 0 trip in the original demand. So let's press play. To do this, we're going to right click and look at outputs to generate. And then you'll see the skim matrix appear. We can also look in the SRC. So the SRC has similar options. I'm going to edit this to aggregate my time classes. And I have ticked that I want it in the warm-up, I want the aggregate by vehicle class, I want 0 trips, and I want each individual replication as well. One of the additional benefits of this is that you have it for SRC as well. I'm just going to pause that. So previously, if you had a stochastic root choice model, you would have to manually create all of the skim matrices for each individual replication and then externalize them. So put them into Excel or something, and then create an average for that. With this new functionality, you can automatically generate the average skim matrix for a stochastic root choice model. All right, to retrieve them, as we just saw, you right click on the replication, click retrieve skim matrices, and you will get a list of all of the skim matrices that have appeared. They are created as text files. So I'm just going to open one of those text files up, and we can see the cost function in there. So we've got here the cost for each OD pair in a human readable format, so that you can easily link it to whichever post-processing piece of software you wish to use. You can also process this inside Aimsun Next. So here I'm going to filter by trips and a time interval with cars. And you can see I've generated a matrix with a standardized naming system that you could link to whichever thing you wish to use. All right, periodic calls. So this is particularly useful for pedestrian crossings or low demand arms of a junction. So here I've got a actuated signal with detectors for each different one. So this one is on a dummy section at the side, just over here. And previously, what I would have to do is add in pedestrians or a demand here. Now what I can do is, using the traffic management part of the software, I can create a traffic condition. And inside that traffic condition, I can create a policy called a periodic call. I add this onto a detector. So that is just here. I've added it to this detector. And I say there will be a detection happening every couple of minutes with a certain standard deviation. I can also add this to the dummy one here, which is going to act as pedestrians across this crossing. Hopefully this will mean that it's simpler to create models where you've got an impact of a low flow area, low flow pedestrians, without having to put all of that information in. So we've got some additional enhancements to workflow if it isn't enough yet. This one is quite small, but you will notice it. We have removed initial cost functions. So these have been unified with our dynamic cost functions. The dynamic cost function now intelligently adapts based on if it has data available. So if there is no data available, when it calls for the simulated travel time, it will use the free flow travel time. The path assignment plan. So you can now add path assignments to the path assignment plan before they have been generated. So this was the case in version 23. We have reverted back to how it was in version 24 with some intelligent checks to make sure that you're putting them in properly. So if you set up your path assignment, add it to a path assignment plan, you can create your static and then your meso model taking the route choice from that all together at the start and then run them in batch rather than having to do it step by step. So the video is just showing you quickly on how to do that, but it's no different to version 23. All right, then we have merges. So we have a new merge model. So I'll let it play and you can have a watch. We have a new merge model that is enabling you to create different types of ramps in a more efficient way than was previously available. So you have these types of ramps here, which are really common in the UK, type E and F and G, also known as ghost lane merges. With this new merge model, you can highlight that any node is a merge, and any time that you have two lane connections going into one lane connection, that it will have merge behavior with parameters that you can edit on the cooperation distance and the level of cooperation happening. We also have a new type of cooperation. So vehicles don't just slow down, but they also move lane to allow vehicles to merge. As you can see, particularly in the time at the bottom where you've got two into one, the new model is a lot smoother in this merge as vehicles are cooperating in getting to their location. I'm just going to show you another video with a view mode to make this even clearer. So I'm going to make a view mode with vehicles that are cooperating and those that are receiving cooperation. So I'm going to have ones that are giving cooperation in black and the ones that are receiving in red. So I'm just making this. So receiving cooperation from vehicle, I'll make them red. And then we'll press play. I'm just going to pause it here, and you can see we have in the new model two vehicles that are cooperating, so they're in black, and two vehicles receiving cooperation. And the black vehicles will slow down to let the red vehicle in. Now I'm going to show you some more complex parts of this. So you can also specify inside the node who has priority. So you go to Advanced Node Editor, Merge Behavior, and you say which lane has priority. So I'm going to make one with lane 1 priority and the other one with lane 2 priority, Advanced Editor, Merge Behavior, and I just click which one has priority. I can then press play. And again, with the same view mode, we can see the vehicles who are cooperating or not. What you'll see at first in the lane 1 and lane 2 priority is that they're all in the same lane because the cooperation distance is quite high. So I've set it to 150, which goes all the way past that section, and they're all in the correct lane and not having to do the merge. So I'll show you how to edit that. So if I go to the node, you'll see that there's a tick box there for merge and the cooperation distance. I'm going to set it to 50. And I'm going to do it again. We've got the merge tick box, and I'm going to set the cooperation distance to 50. Pressing play again, and we can now see the vehicles that are cooperating. You can see them creating gaps before they get to that merge. As part of this, you do have additional parameters. So you now have the cooperation creating a gap and cooperation changing lanes. So previously you just had cooperation. You can now set these separately. So the cooperation creating a gap are the vehicles that slow down to allow a vehicle to merge. And the cooperation changing lane are the vehicles that move out and move away from a vehicle to allow it to change lane into that vehicle's position. A vehicle will always try to change lane first. So if they have that ability, because that's got a higher percentage, and then they will try and create a gap if they can't do that. Then finally, our enhanced consistency features. So we have a new set of statistics for your dynamic models. So the old statistics measured the flows and travel times of an object when it left the object. The new statistics measured the flow, speed, travel time of an object whilst it's inside. The benefits of this are that it can give smoother consistency between the flow, speed, as well as giving a smoother output, as it will always give a value for the speed and travel time, even if a vehicle has not exited during that statistical period. Don't worry, you still have the ability to use the old statistics. So if you wish to use the old ones, they're still there. Those are known as exit-based, and the new ones are called entry-based statistics. It also doesn't affect the detectors. So if you're using the detectors in the real data set, there is no change. So let's have a see. I've got a network here with a statistical interval of 30 seconds. And I'm just going to let some vehicles in. So you'll see at the top section that I've put a traffic light in there so that they can't leave. So I'm going to get 4 vehicles in the first statistical interval. So there's my 4. And let's see that. So if I open that up, we can see the input count is 4, as 4 have entered. But our exit base count is 0, as no one has exited. We also have our entry base count here, which is 3, somewhere in between. Again, I'm going to let a couple of vehicles in. And we've got that difference. So we've still got vehicles coming in. We've got an exit base count of 0, but our entry base count is in between. So I'll leave it running for a second. And we'll get to a point where the section is pretty full. So a vehicle hardly moves inside it. So this one, I think we'll have a couple leave and only 1 enter. So we didn't really get much flow in this statistical period. That'll be the next one. So that one, we have 1 vehicle that just entered and no one has exited. And we can see here the entry-based flow count is 0.31, as we had not very many vehicles enter, 1, and it moved a tiny, tiny bit. Let's look at the speed. So this is also affecting our speed and travel time. And if I look at the graph, you can see the red ones are the entry-based, so that's the new statistic, and the blue is the exit-based. As we have values for each of the periods, even when no vehicles exit, you can now see that we have, in the exit-based one, an intermittent value, whereas in entry-based, we have a value for each one. Even though it does oscillate, it can be useful to have that information so that you can have more accurate costs, more accurate understanding of your simulation. This is also applied to subpaths as well as your sections and terms. We've also edited our random number generation, which has been changed to improve the noise in the model. Hopefully this should improve the consistency of results when making isolated changes to improve the confidence of any outcomes and any tests. We've also edited the mesoscopic diverge. So in version 24, as you'll see over here, vehicles wouldn't use a diverge evenly. So if they're coming along here, they wouldn't use 50-50 here. They would only use this side lane if there was some other reason to do it, such as there being a turn up ahead, or there is congestion. Now in the model, this will use a 50-50% split here to encourage vehicles to use the maximum amount of space. So here, as you can see, these two are now equivalent. So going one section into two, or one with a side lane, the same thing happens. We've also improved our outputs for urban sections for the highways capacity manual. So we now have a free flow speed which aligns to the theoretical free flow speed from the highways capacity manual. And you also have parameters here that you can edit to further inform that. We also have updated our level of service table to the highways capacity manual version 7 parameters. For hybrid macro meso modeling, we have got a new parameter here. Use travel time from the input path assignment plan for all vehicles. If you have a path assignment plan in, you can now say that the travel time is not calculated from the cost function, but from that path assignment plan. The reason for this is that it allows you to create a stochastic route choice model which reproduces the last iteration of a dynamic user equilibrium model if you set the route choice to 100% following that path assignment. It allows you to easily debug things and work efficiently. We've also changed it so that the dynamic user equilibrium macro travel times are sourced from the same slice in the previous iteration, not the previous slice, ensuring more stable and consistent convergence compared to earlier versions. Traffic management. So we have introduced two new traffic controller interfaces. We've got the CPAC controller and the SWARCO ITC3 controller. These allow for robust sandbox testing of any controllers in a virtual environment and add to our existing controllers that we already support. We've also got some improvements to our Unix PDM controllers. So you can now exchange SRM messages. These are a type of message sent by connected public transport vehicles to handle public transport priority, also known as bus preemption or bus gates or tram gates. And you can also send the train length parameter with an exit R09 telegram. This should allow you to do vehicle to infrastructure functionality testing using the Unix controllers before deploying to the field. Traffic management. So we've adapted our triggers. So you can now have a different trigger by different time of day. So if you want to close a lane, you can have a trigger for a certain time and a different one that's less sensitive at another time. We also have a minimum duration on this. So you might not close a lane for just 1 minute. You might have a minimum of 10 minutes to try and make it be safe. So we've added that ability in there for more realistic operational logic. So here, this is where you just add in your different triggers and you've got the minimum duration at the bottom. You can also add in central groupings into traffic management. So any type of traffic management action or policy that has centroids could use a centroid grouping. So here we've got a destination change. And I've said that for the origin, any of the vehicles from the sector of diagonal will be changed by this destination change. We've also got some new features for static and four-step. So we have a new output for the static assignment. So we've got relative gap matrices. These are really useful for debugging the network, helping you to monitor convergence and performance at a glance. We've also added the ability in the public transport assignment, also known as transit assignment, to limit the number of multi-routing options. This should reduce your computation time whilst maintaining your quality. We've also, in the real data set, added in the ability to put in the assigned percentage. So this is the percentage of vehicles that are turning left or right at a node, rather than the exact number of vehicles turning left or right. So let's have a see of that. We've got the relative gap matrices just in the outputs to generate for the static assignment. So again, opening up that static assignment, you've just got the relative gap matrices at the bottom. For controlling the number of multi-routing options, here we just have it in the experiment. So again, opening up the experiment, and we have the multi-routing number there. For our four-step model, we've also improved the connection settings. So when you want to connect two parts of your model, you can now filter and order those options to make that selection easier. We've also improved our priorities for the supernode trajectories. The static assignment will now take into account the priorities from conflicting volumes on supernode trajectories. You can edit this in the user-defined conflicts table. We've reintroduced this, and we can now calculate this conflicting volume taking into account stop and yield signs. All right, scripting and programming. Next 26 is going to come with Python 3.12 for any of the things that you are using scripts or APIs in Python for. So the previous version was 3.10, and this is in all platforms. We've also changed the Qt version to Qt6. So if you've been creating any UI elements like pop-ups, any filters, those kinds of things, you may need to update that in version 26. All right, so that's all of the features for version 26, but we did add some in version 24, which you might have already been aware of if you were using the fast track features. So for the vehicle type, there is a new parameter, can be overtaken. So this is in your vehicle type parameters down at the bottom. This is designed for if you are using the two-way, two-lane overtaking model, that you can say certain vehicles will not be overtaken. For example, a lorry carrying parts for a wind turbine that is very, very wide. We've also improved the performance for public transport and static assignment. And then final feature, which is one of the best, but a very nice simple one. If you open up a matrix and you now click the centroid, it will select that row for you in the interface. If you press Control click, it will take you to the column. Now, thanks for listening to all my great features. I'm going to pass you back to Dimitri for his final announcement.
Thank you, Tessa. It was a great presentation. Hello again, and as promised, before we wrap up, we have something special for you. So to thank you for joining us today, we're offering an exclusive 20% discount on Aimsun Next for new subscriptions and early renewals. So hurry up, it's valid until January 31st, 2026, and you can contact us at info@aimsun.com. So again, thank you for being with us today. We hope to hear from you very soon.